It's only when you're alone that your true self comes out, not the one that your friends know, not the one that you appear on social media, the real you. The only question that's left is, do you know who your true self really is? I can confidently say that up until I was 16, I didn't really know who I was. Very rarely was I alone. If I wasn't at school, then I would be at football practice. And if I wasn't at practice, then I would be at school. And even when I inevitably did get some free time, I would just occupy my brain with something, whether it was video games or Netflix or just social media, you name it. Now, as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that the people who tend to live like this, not really spending time with their thoughts, not really investing in themselves. Who am I? What am I doing here? What are my interests? Ironically enough, those people seem to be the ones who are most sure about their identity and about what is going on. Up until I was 16, I thought that I had an answer for everything. Logic could justify everything, and the word humble was not in my dictionary. And I started to notice that as I unpacked things, unpacked why was I here? Who am I really? I had more and more questions and less answers. And some people might find that pointless. But in my opinion, pointless would be to live your life without spending some alone time questioning things. I don't know if you've noticed this, but kids who are like 5 or 6 years old, they question everything. And it's just fun, they're like, why does the apple fall? Because of gravity. Okay, why? And I'm like, because the earth is big. Why? And then you just get to a point that you're like, oh, okay, shut up. So they question everything, right? They don't take anything for granted. Yet, as we grow older, we seem to just become numb and accept everything as normal, always feeding our brain with something to distract us from our own thoughts. I see this every day or almost every day when I'm going to university, whether it's in the bus or the subway. Everyone is just glued to their phone and, they're occupying their brain with something. But very rarely do I see someone that's like just doing nothing, just thinking, just reflecting on their life. And in my opinion, this is why an average 18-year-old from 50 years ago was just that much more mature than the average 18-year-old now. Because, 50 years ago, you didn't have smartphones. So you did the one and only thing that you could to kill some time, which was thinking about your life, thinking about what was happening. And I'm not saying that you have to reserve 30 minutes of your day every day, to keep your thoughts in check. But just, while you're waiting for the bus, or even when you're driving if you don't take public transport. Nowadays, it just doesn't happen that much. We're always in a rush to do something, whether you have an exam at school or university, or you have a project at your work. There's always something going on, there's always something occupying your brain. And then we're always getting stressed and worried about these problems that we sometimes forget to space out a little and think, okay, wait a second, what am I doing here? Is this really the way that I want to live my life? Do I want to spend my weeks worrying about school projects and exams? What about my own life? And I know you've heard this before, but our life is very, very short. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. So by living life on autopilot, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's a disservice because, in my opinion at least, life is to be treasured and appreciated. So, it's not to be rushed through only for you to look back once you're older and regret everything. If you're never alone, you won't spend time thinking about your interests. You won't spend time thinking about where you want to go in life. And what I noticed in my own life was that because I didn't know who I was, because I wasn't discovering myself, I didn't really have a personality. My personality was just a conglomerate of other people's personalities. So I was essentially like a chameleon. I would steal 10% of this guy's personality, 20% of that person's personality. And I just don't think that's a good way for you to live, because I'm not saying you can't learn things from other people, but basing your entire personality around others, I don't think it's a healthy thing to do. So that's what I was doing, you know, I was adopting my personality and my tastes to the ones around me. And, you know, what happens when those friendships collapse? Well, essentially, all of a sudden, you find yourself alone with nothing but a fake personality that you created to please someone that isn't even in your life anymore. This is why I feel like it is especially important for you to discover yourself before you start getting into relationships. Because if you get into one without knowing who you really are, you know, you're simply going to end up emulating the other person's personality. And no one likes that. You know, the yin needs the yang, doesn't need another yin. Despite all of this, I believe that the biggest benefit of spending some time alone is maintaining a good relationship with your mental health. I was the type of person at 16 that didn't really take mental health seriously, you know, it wasn't really a thing for me, you know, out of sight, out of mind. As I got older, I started to experience more stress in life and more emotions just overall, and I still wasn't processing my emotions. So I would feel stressed and then I would sweep it under the rug and just keep going on with my day. Everything just seemed a little bit gray, you know, a little bit mundane, just a little bit boring, to be honest. And it was around this time that I actually started to take a step back and to really try and understand what was going on with me. And in order to do that, I needed to be alone. Now, I do want to mention that this doesn't work for everyone. You know, some people do feel more comfortable if they share what they feel with someone else, you know, a relative or a friend, maybe even a psychologist. But I don't know if it's just a boy thing, you know, like, oh, I have testosterone, so I have to deal with this myself. But yeah, for me, it was just better to deal with those problems all by myself. So if you're going to be taking something away from this video, at least once a week, try to think about what is going on with your life. You know, who are you at the moment? What are your goals? Are you working towards them? Or are you just waiting for them to fall on your lap? And if some things are worrying you, try to pinpoint what is causing the worry. I guarantee you that if you do all of those things, your levels of maturity will just skyrocket in the space of a couple months. So, thank you for watching. I seriously hope you got something out of this video. Love you, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.